Hello, today we're going to be playing a little Hearts of Iron 3. I've been noticing a lot lately on Reddit that people want to know how to play this game, but they don't really know where to start, what to do. And all the Let's Plays are always, I'm going to conquer the world as Albania, or their USA, conquering the Pacific. I don't see a lot of straight, just German conquering the world games, which I always recommend to learn because you control everything. So I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna see how it goes, and hopefully we can learn some things. Victory conditions, always leaving the same. It's really easy to cheese the game by picking really easy victory conditions, which we don't want to do. So let's just get going here. I'd like to preface this by saying I haven't played this in quite a while. It was my favorite Paradox game until CK2 came out, but this is what got me started on Paradox. So, first things first, anytime you play a country, you want to check out what your diplomatic options are, especially Germany, because we have this nice reoccupation of the Rhineland, which, while it looks crazy, when you read it, all we really have to do is move one unit to Baden-Baden. So let's just make sure we do that. Always strategically redeploy when you can, which is done by holding down Control and right-clicking. That gets them there in just a couple of days, rather than, anything from days to weeks. Check this out. Our tooltip up here says we can change our laws to mixed industry from consumer product orientation. We don't have the money for that, and I actually like consumer product orientation because it gives me more IC to play with. IC, of course, being your industrial capacity, which you use to build everything. I like to joke that this game is a slider management game. As you can see, if you click on the need here, it'll automatically assign the required amount and lock it temporarily. It will not lock it to what you need, it will only lock it to this number. So if this need changes, which it will on almost a daily basis, you have to come back in here and re-click. Kind of tedious. I hope they do something about that in Hoi 4, but not the worst. So as you can see, I have 125 IC to play with right now. That may change once we get the game going, because supply issues will come up, but we'll see. First though, we're going to go into our research and research all of the important things we need. Infantry. Top of the line infantry for the Germans, very important. Nothing else on this screen is necessary. Never research anything from these two. It is useless. These we can research later. As you can see, they're available in 1939. I could research them now, but they're gonna suffer a severe penalty to research speed, so it's not really worth it. Move over to our armor tab. Tanks, very important. Obviously the German Blitzkrieg, we need to make sure that's running. We can also see medium tank brigade, which is obviously better than light tank brigade, needs light tank brigade at least up to level 2. So we obviously want to get there as fast as possible. I'm a big fan of armored cars. The people I play this game with tell me I'm an idiot, but I really like them, so we're going to research that. And artillery. I do not find anti-aircraft very useful for most playthroughs. I will not find anti-tank very useful for this playthrough, because I plan on out-tanking the tanks on the enemy side. I'm Germany, I don't need boats. So we are not really going to research anything here, but I'm going to just make sure I didn't miss anything, since, as I said, I have not played Hoi in a while. Nope, good. We may come back to airplanes, because having airplanes are very important, but as you can see, our fighter techs are pretty well maxed, so we're not going to worry about that. Bombers we may come back to, I'm not sure yet. Looking through here, we're all teched up here, nothing that won't be at a penalty, so we can leave our industry tab. Secret, you don't need any of this ever. There are things you could do in a late game playthrough, but ignore this tab for the most part. Theory, you can pretty much ignore this tab too, except for these two texts, and sometimes this one, depending on, you know, your style of play and your playthrough. This is more important for naval powers, in my opinion, than land powers. But these two we will need to remember to keep up to date, but as you can see, we don't need to do that now. Now here's the most important three tabs, well, one for Germany, are doctrines. Doctrines are the way your army fights, and they basically represent boosts to your units. Germany starts out in a pretty good position with a lot of strong attacks, but there are some we want to research. Tactical command structure. Mostly because that gets us up to superior firepower, which will let us get an extra brigade in our divisions, which is essential. Mass assault raises our infantry morale. Very important. Operational level organization is probably the most important thing on this screen, because if we're going to run a blitzkrieg, we need our attacks to be often and quick. So very important to keep this up to date and better than our enemies. And you know what? I'm actually going to research everything that's not up to date. Except for... Actually, we're going to research all of them. As you can see, our slider is getting a little low here. So this is our distribution of leadership. 21 of my 29 points are going into research right now. That is very typical for me in a Germany playthrough. I like to out-tech everyone. Again, this might change for you. Maybe you like spies. I don't find spies very useful, so we're going to leave that there until we get up to 10 spies, which are located here. And then once that gets there, I'm probably going to reduce spies to basically nothing. Diplomacy, I may be influencing someone soon, so we're going to leave that for now. And then officers is represented up here by this little flag. 140 is the highest this number can reach. However, you can have more than 140%, they're just not counted. So it's always good to put something into officers when you can. Now we have our air doctrines. Again, I'm skipping naval. Air doctrines, I can worry about later. I don't need them right now. They are important though. So let me click through, see if I missed anything. Our bombers are very useful. We will be using tactical bombers. I will be building a strong Luftwaffe. So we're going to research these right off the bat. We're going to reduce officers to 0 for now. Get espionage up so that we get our 10 spies pretty quickly. Leave diplomacy up so we build up some diplomacy up here, which is the little envelope. And that is it for our research. Our politics screen, whenever you start a new nation, you want to go through and make sure you have decent ministers. This stuff over here is important, but don't worry about it on your early playthroughs. It is actually more worrisome when you're playing against people, because they will mess with your diplomacy and your political parties a lot more than the AI will. Let's see, all of these are pretty much useless. We can leave him. I will usually go for IC bonuses, but resources plus 5% I find very useful. Supplies 20% though is very good, because what that is going to do is it's going to reduce this number by 20% essentially, which will gain us more IC. So the reduction in supplies is actually going to be more beneficial to us than a boost in IC, in my opinion. Again, I'm sure there's some sort of math I could figure out, but we're going by gut here. Our Minister of Security, Leadership modifiers are usually where you want to go here. That gets us more points for research. Head of intelligence. I don't use intelligence all that much, so I'm going to go with espionage bonus. Just, it'll make the points I put into espionage a little bit more valuable, rather than getting a bonus that I'm probably not going to lose. Our Chief of Staff, combat movement speed is great to have later, but I'm not going to be fighting, so we're going to go with supply throughput. That's going to get supplies to my troops a little faster, which may save on supply costs. Chief of the Army, again, supply consumption I'm going to go with. That's going to save me IC, which is really what it's all about. None of this matters. We'll go with Destroyer, because, well, it doesn't really matter. We'll leave it with Capital Ship. And again, practical decay is basically when you have high practicals, you gain practicals by building things. So if you build a lot of something, your practical skill in building it gets better, which makes them build faster. Since I'm not going to be building any bombers soon, let's put that on so that goes down slower. That'll help us out. You can't change any of these right now. For these, essentially, you want to go down. Lower is better. It gets you better things. On all of these, again, I don't mind being on consumer product orientation because the consumer goods during peacetime is helpful to me. I feel like it generates me IC, which really comes from daily descent change, minus 20%, which reduces the consumer goods your populace needs to maintain their standard of living, which keeps this slider low. You can see these have already changed just based on me moving things around. Have to reset them. So, skip all those, just notifications. My pop-ups may be obnoxious because, again, I haven't played this game in a while and they may have reset. So what I was saying, having consumer product orientation reduces your daily descent by 20, which is great because descent ties directly to your consumer goods. If your descent goes up, you need to raise your consumer goods, which takes away from your industrial capacity, so then I can't build stuff, which, again, we need an army. So, there are a number of German starts that you could do. In multiplayer games, I tend to build IC here because I don't want to build units before my technology is done being researched, because what that does, when you research technology, you need to upgrade your units. If I build more units, I need to put more IC into upgrades. So if I wait till the upgrades to finish researching here, I will not have to pay an upgrade cost in IC later. So right off the bat here, I don't like to build units because it's just going to bite me in the ass later. So what I usually do, if I'm not going to build IC, I might build planes. Planes take a very long time to build. It's hard to replenish planes later, and the IC cost for upgrading them isn't usually too severe. And I don't really need a ton of IC as Germany. It's just not super useful. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to build 10 interceptors parallel, meaning they're all going to build at the same time. So see, they're all building here. I'm also going to get some IC back from these boats when these boats are finished. Finally, I had 158. How many? Let's knock one of these off. Now, the only slider I should have over the need is supplies. That's the only one that really benefits. except for consumer goods, only if you're descent, only if you have descent. If you raise your consumer goods over your descent need, or over your need, it'll lower your descent. So, if I do get descent through an event, or bombing, or whatever, it is important that I do that to lower that, because descent will reduce your IC, and again, I want IC. So what we're going to do, until I get 10 spies, I'm going to just put it on Raise National Unity, because if you put them on counter-espionage, they can die. So I don't want that, because I don't want to put points into my spies. Alright, we're almost ready to start. I just have to take a look at diplomacy and kind of decide what I want to do here. There are ways to game Austria into joining earlier by raising their threat level. I don't really bother with that stuff. It's definitely a strategy you can pursue, but the Anschluss of Austria happens one way or the other, unless human players are in really messing with it. So I'm going to get those nations. I'm not going to worry too much about it. What I am going to do is I'm going to influence a nation that maybe I don't want to go Soviet, which is Romania. I know that seems crazy right now, but I like having Romania. It's something I've always done. It works out well for me, so we're going to do that. I'm also going to increase my value a little bit over, so I generate a few diplomatic points, because you need those for trades. I am also going to automate trade, because the computer just handles it a little better. It's the one thing I automate. I don't really believe in automating your armies or anything. I think that's kind of ruins the point of the game, which is to fight a war. But I will automate that. Ignore that. I'm just kind of seeing what's happening. The other thing I always do, you want to combine all of your navies and armies, or I'm sorry, navies and air forces, to reorganize them. So you get them all in the same place. They won't die too much. And then you can reset them, which we're actually gonna on pause now. I'm just gonna save real quick so that there's no problems. And we're gonna unpause. I'm gonna bump it up to speed 2 just to kind of get things going. Airplanes move really fast, so all my planes are already here. We're gonna merge them with this button. Then we're gonna see what we have. We're gonna move 4 interceptors together. We're gonna move 4 attack bombers together, and now we have 3 different units. January 6th. He's gonna move there. We can see by hovering this. Yes, thought I read that wrong. So we have our 3 units. Oop. Gonna pause. You know, I thought that said that. So now, because we moved this unit to this province, we have unlocked this decision. See, our little check mark is checked. So we're gonna do that. The dissent is meaningless. The neutrality helps us declare war. Our relations don't matter because we're going to conquer all of those people. 500 money, 250 manpower is fantastic. 2 unity is fantastic. And the threat against France is meaningless. So we're going to click that. And we get this historical pop-up that shows us what we did. If you guys don't know, the Rhineland is this area here. It's a very fertile, industrious nation, or not nation, but part of the nation that was taken away from Germany following World War I by the French and the British. And Hitler took it back right around this time. As you can see, because we have money and some of our stats changed, we can now do some more things. We can implement 3-year draft, which is great because it raises our manpower modifier, which gets us more manpower. Manpower is always a problem for Germany later on. It also increases our officer recruitment, which makes this button have more bang for its buck, which we definitely want. You don't really have to worry about the reserves penalty impact. We might be building some reserves. We probably will be, but not something you really have to worry about. So click. It's going to cost us $54, 54 monies, if you will. Now, as you can see, I can do this, but I don't want to yet. That's, I think, a very controversial opinion, but we'll see. So let's get going again. Now, I'm also going to move some units around. But first, as you can see, we've gained some leadership. So I'm going to keep pumping spies and diplomats for now. But in the meantime, what we're going to do is, I don't know if this is how everyone does it, but this is how I do it. We're going to disband our headquarters. You're going to lose some experience on this. It won't matter. Not against the AI. Not against France, especially. I mean, it's inconsequential, so don't worry about it. This is perhaps the most grueling part of any start, especially the Soviet Union, which starts with 1 million headquarters and 1 million useless places. And their theaters are just a mess. So, as you can just see, I had to go back here again. My reinforcement stat went way up. That'll go down quickly. Some people died of attrition, essentially. It's gonna happen. Don't worry about it. Anytime you hear that little whistle noise, you have to go to your production screen and change things, or you're gonna be wasting IC, and wasting IC is not something you ever want to do. So again, deleting HQs. Now, you're going to be in political map mode pretty much your entire time playing Hoi. However, going into your theater map mode is useful. As you can see, all the units in the blue are going to be assigned to this 6-star HQ, which we're going to give him some good doctrines. We're going to promote Hauser, and he's going to be in charge of that. We're going to go over here. We want to get this old guard out of here. Defensive doctrine, we're attacking. We don't need defense, at least until we invade the Soviet Union. Again, we're going to look for some good doctrines, because those are passed down partially to every unit under its command. I like Logistics Wizard or Battle Master, because I like saving supplies. Since he is going to the Eastern Front, we can have Defensive Doctrine and Offensive. Those are both good to have. Okay. So I believe that covers all of our HQs. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move our starting units to useful places. Namely, the Maginot Line. We'll take the mountain units, put them in the mountains. Weird. Go back to my political map mode. Simplified terrain is useful in brief moments, but not... You don't want to play the game in that map mode. It's obnoxious. So we're going to fill the Maginot Line with troops. I hope France gets nervous. Going to move these guys right up the border of Belgium. You can leave units in cities in order to minimize attrition and things like that. I won't put units in swamps, or marshes rather, which Papenburg and Lear are, because they will die, and we don't want that. The good thing against the AI is we don't have to defend our cities. England's not going to launch a surprise invasion. We don't have to worry about anything like that. So we can just abandon all of our victory points. and just move units where we'll want them later. If we highlight everyone, we can see where everyone's going. As you can see, I missed a couple spots, which is fine. We can fill them in. You do want tanks, obviously, in planes, so I'm going to move this motorized light armor division up here. Actually, right up here. They have an engineer, so river crossings will be less of a pain. You know, and these guys will move around. They're not necessarily going to stay there forever. Go over here. The ones in the middle, the troops like around Berlin and everything, they probably go east or west, depending on how I'm feeling at the time. Missed our little HQ up in the Polish corridor, or outside of the Polish corridor, rather. I'm sure there's someone somewhere screaming that I'm generating threat by being on their borders. It doesn't matter, even if that's the case. Light armor, so I want to double check, see where I'm going, get him on a plane somewhere, just so I don't have to move him later. So essentially what we're doing with strategic redeployment is we're putting guys on trains. They're not marching, they're leaving their equipment, they're hopping on trains, and they are riding their way there, to give some, like, to make it less of an abstract concept. Now, what that does, if you see up here, I have units in poor supply. That's because they leave their supplies when they move. So you don't want to run them into a battle using strategic redeployment, because a lot of times they'll not have organization, they'll not have supplies. See, he's missing supplies. And on top of that, I don't have any HQs right now, so no one's organizing the supplies. So we're going to have a lot of units out of supply, or with low supply, and things of that nature. We don't have to worry about it, because it's only 1936. Alright, so everybody's running. Almost everyone over here is where they're supposed to be. We can enact some laws, but we're not going to. Our units are building. Our units are upgrading. I'm losing supplies, but it doesn't matter because we're going to fill those in later. And that is my start for Germany. Tune in next time. We're going to keep going. I'm going to build some orders of battle, which I think is something a lot of people have a lot of problems with, but it's really not that hard when you do it this way. Alright, see you next time.